Alright guys, welcome back. Survival Living here. So today I want to discuss survival buckets. We've talked about this in the past and I've done videos prior on this. We have some new products in. I want to discuss this and how we utilize this in our preparedness. So what we have here is the Wallaby 5-gallon bucket. This is a food storage bucket. Now, I've discussed this recently. We went away from our buckets as far as storing our food and we went to totes. But we still use buckets to put food in the ground. We still use buckets for our bug out location and also supply drops along the way. Now with the Wallaby buckets, they have came out with the lock lid. We've done a recent video on this. This is the lock lid system. It's got a ring that actually attaches to the buckets. Mash it down, lock it in place, and then you got a screw on lid. Kind of reminds me of the Gamma lids. Now with these guys, you got a double gasket system here. You got a gasket on the top of this inside of the ring, and then you've got a gasket inside of this ring here that attaches to the bucket. This way everything is sealed up. Now in the past we have done videos on using a regular bucket. We've used that method for many years. Just using a bucket. Should be a pop-up here for you. Put a lid on it, duct tape it, put a trash bag around it, and put it in the ground. Now let's be clear on putting things in the ground. Here is a pop-up of the frost level of the United States. Now this is a frost level zoning for decking, making footers actually for decks. All right, you have concrete in the ground at a certain level, you have to be below the frost zone. And that's exactly what we do with our survival buckets. These frost zones, you want to make sure your food is below those frost zones, or you wind up freezing your food and then it'll thaw out, then freeze again, thaw out. Your fluctuating temperatures will kill and destroy your life expectancy of that food. You don't want that to happen. Now, when it comes to putting food in the ground, let's make an example here. Pop that up again for you. My frost level on my location on the broad band is 5 to 6 inches. That means 5 to 6 inches of dirt above the lid. All right, surface level. I dig a hole all the way down to the bottom, and I got to have 5 to 6 inches to the top of this lid. Me personally, I prefer to go an additional 6 to 8 inches below that. The reason being, in case we get some crazy weather, and guys, let's face it, our world is going through some crazy changes. We're seeing all kind of crazy weather. So with that being said, I just make sure I go a little bit further down. With this, please, if you're putting food in the ground, please use Mylar or canned goods. We've done videos on pulling things out of the ground 4 months later, things like that, so I can actually show you the process and stuff. It's not hard to do. All right, now everybody's frost level is different, and this might not be something you're going to be able to do because some frost levels are like 48 to 52 inches deep. That's a lot of digging, and trying to dig that up in the wintertime, that ground's frozen solid. Good luck with that. All right, but for other people, that this may work great for you, and this is what we utilize here. I'm in Florida. One of the biggest problems down here in Florida is the water table. Yeah, I've shown digging hand wells and stuff just to get to surface water, basic groundwater, and of course you got to filter that stuff out big time because chemicals, pesticide, other biologicals will rest in there. You have to filter that out, but I've shown that you can dig it out and you can get access to water. Do not just put loose grains or loose rice, beans and stuff in a bucket and put in the ground. The reason being is because condensation can be trapped. When you seal these things up, you're sealing up the temperature of whatever the food is currently. Let's say I seal it up right out here. Whatever my ambient temperature is going to be sealed in this bucket. When I put this down in the ground, which is an average of 62 to 63 degrees, what happens when you cool something off that's hot? Condensation builds up. Or something cold starts to warm up. Condensation. Condensation will build up into the bucket. This will destroy any loose grains and stuff because then it's gotten wet. Now, this is why I say Mylar it up. We are affiliated with Wallabies, guys. All right, we're always open about things. You never have to purchase anything from us, ever. If you use our codes, you get a discount and you help out the channel. But I'm just showing you the products. This here is the silicone packs, just to get that moisture out of these buckets. Now, I use 2. All right, they come in a pack of 50. I've been using 2 with ours. I throw it in. I load up our food. Again, we use Mylar, or we put canned goods in it. And we just load it all up, and that is going into the ground. All right. I did have some recent comments about the Mylar over here. Let's move this. Yeah, the Mylar over here. That is a staging point. When we Mylar our food, I want to make sure it seals up like a brick. This is rice. I want to make sure it seals up like a brick before we move it to our final rotational location. All right, that's why this is a staging point. That's what this is, and it works very well. Somebody had mentioned, what about rodents? If you have rodent issues, you need to address that now. You don't need to be playing around with it. You need to stop stocking and take care of that rodent issue. I don't have rodent issues. All right, I check all my locations. If you got rodent problems, pests, you need to take care of that first. Now with this, why move food around? Why put it in the ground? Well, 1, you're making space for more preps. 2, in case something major happens at your main location, what's going to happen to your preps? 2012, I had a house fire. I lost everything in the house. I got my family out, but I lost everything in the house. My preps, everything that was in there. Now, let's go ahead and say SHTF has happened. Stores are closed. You can't buy food. And your house has got burned down by an angry mob, lightning storm, wildfire, civil unrest has came and kicked down your door. Yeah. So you have to move from location. This is why we have bug out locations. This is why we have survival buckets in the ground at many different locations. Along the way, we have a resupply spot. Now, these buckets are not just for food, medical supply, extra defensive tools. Let me say it that way. Make sure you check your local laws. I don't want anybody getting hemmed up for placing a defensive tool in the ground and some kid find it. You know, be careful what you do. But an idea, moving things around. Make sure you check your local laws, guys. I don't want anybody getting hemmed up and pinned up before SHTF, because the fact is, you don't want to be behind a locked gate when this happens. When it comes to Mylar and food, yes, we use Wallaby, guys. That is one of our affiliates. We started off with vacuum sealing, and vacuum sealing's great. It really is, but I had a lot of failures within a year, about a 30% failure rating on my vacuum sealed bags. It could be the bags I was using. Either way, they lost seal and they had air in them. This is why we seal up everything. We put our O2 absorber in it. We get that brick effect. And I know this is going to last a very long time. But you don't have to use or do what we do. We try to show you what we're doing here. You can base your preparedness level off of that. That's entirely up to you. I encourage you to use survival buckets, put things in the ground as much as possible. As far as putting things down on maps and things, I've had people ask me that. I don't put things down on maps. I know exactly where it is. The people that also should know where it is also knows exactly where it is. I don't leave things wrote down for someone else to get a hold of. But that's entirely up to you on that scenario. Me personally, I think it's a security issue. So with the lock lids, guys, I love these things. They, like I said, they remind me of the Gamma lids, but at a fraction of a price. Wallabies has the buckets, the rings, the lids. You can buy them separate. You can buy them as packs. That's entirely up to you. The silicone packs are a great idea. They really are, especially if you are trying to put defensive tool and equipment in the ground. That initial condensation that can build up in these buckets because of the ambient temperature, the air that's in this, That'll remove that for you. But when it comes to food and stuff, guys, Mylar it up or use canned goods. Okay, you don't want to put anything loose. Now, if you're just storing inside your home, yes, you can just fill up the bucket full of your rice, use your lock lids, put it on, and you're good. These things are super sturdy. They can stack up plenty on top. They work great. Great handles on these things. They're not the little narrow handles that tear up your hands. These things work great. Like I said, though, we don't use that for our home storage. We use totes. Should be a pop-up here for you. We went to totes because it just works better for my location. And that's what you need to do. You need to prep according to your location and needs. What I show you is what we do. Doesn't mean you have to do exactly what we're doing. All right, guys. Speak to y'all later.